So you want to know if it's your champion getting buffed or nerfed in 10.25, or maybe you want to know if that really OP item is finally on the chopping block. Well, you've come to the right video. I'm Coach Iggs, a multi-season challenger player and now coach, and this video will unveil to you all the buffs and nerfs Riot has planned for the 10.25 patch. In total, there are a massive 50 changes, and we're going to cover each one of them, so you stay as updated as possible on the ever-changing League of Legends landscape. I want to know what change or changes you're looking forward to the most, so let me know in the comments down below. Let's kick things off with the mid lane buffs, and there are 6 champions copying an injection of power. The half-brothers, Yasuo and Yone, are 2 of the worst mid laners in the game and are getting buffed. Plus 5 movement speed, I'm calling it now. Now both of you sword-wielding mains are hovering around a 45% win rate, which dropped after the 10.24 Ginsu's Rageblade change. Your damage is down as a result, and your overall power in the mid lane is laughable compared to other mids. 2 mid laners that have been negatively impacted by the Tiamat change are Talon and Qiyana, and these 2 AD assassins are on the buff list. Talon's only form of wave clear is his W, his rake, and you burn through mana using a few of these in lane. Despite having a 45% win rate in lower elo, Qiyana is performing well in higher elos. I mean, there's a Qiyana player on the Chinese super server with over 1800 LP at the moment. She is definitely hard to master and falls off late game, but we'll have to see what Riot do to both. Riot intended Seraphine to be a mid laner, and that's why she's on the buff list. As a mid laner, you are squishy, easily gankable, and other mages do a much better job of pressuring the enemy laner and clearing waves. On the PBE at the moment, her health per level is increased, and the self shield from your W has also increased. This helps your laning phase because you have greater survivability. Will it be enough though to encourage you to play the songstress mid? We'll have to find out. Last on the mid buffs, it's Anivia, and Riot released their intended changes for the Cryo Phoenix over a week ago. The removal of Rod of Ages and tier changes have made it very hard for you Anivia players to find value in the pre-season. Well, listen in. It will now be easier to CS with auto attacks, your Q, Flash Frost, chills enemies it passes through and travels faster, your wall is now larger, and your ultimate's cooldown is down at each level. If you're an Anivia main, you should be hella excited for 10.25. The buffs sound great. Before we head to the top lane buffs, please let us know you are enjoying the video by leaving a like down below, and friendly reminder to head on over to our awesome website GameLeap.com, the market leader in providing you with challenger courses, guides, and videos to help you become the best player you can be. Link will be in the description and comments down below. In the top lane, there are 4 champions receiving an increase in power. If you like playing an easy champion that can hard stomp lane and carry games, the Pantheon buff should be music to your ears. Pantheon already works great with the mythic item Eclipse and is one of the best snowballing champions in the game. He also works great in the mid lane, so this buff won't just impact one role. Mordekaiser has been having a rough go at it in the preseason. Nerfs to Riftmaker and Demonic Embrace in previous patches have left you Mord mains feeling underappreciated. Hopefully with a buff, the Iron Revenant will be able to compete for supremacy once again. Nasus has also been having a tough time in the top lane. His early game is as exploitable as ever, and he spikes nowhere near as hard as his counterparts off the new mythic items. It takes far too long for Susan to come online, so for all you dog lovers out there, hopefully you can play the game for the first 20 minutes next patch. Warwick might not be classified as a top laner, but I'm sure we've all seen our fair share of top lane Warwicks over the years. The problem is your early game is fairly weak and you run out of mana fast. The Grievous wins items that only cost 800 gold are also a big cuck to Watts. Good news is he's getting a buff, and hopefully some of these issues are addressed. Let's head into the jungle, and there are 9 buffs coming to champions that are underperforming in the jungle. Let's start with Nidalee. Nid has the worst win rate in the entire game at just 42%. You can still clear camps as quick as anyone, but jungling has become easier for other champions, and as a result you have fewer opportunities to punish slow clearing junglers. You also don't spike anywhere near as hard as you did in Season 10 once you bought Runic Echoes. The removal of Athenes has also had an impact. You could buy the Grail and just act as a heal bot for your carries. It sounds boring, but it was effective and worked. Hopefully Riot can bring the Huntress back into play. Lee Sin, 43% win rate, the second worst across the board, is also receiving a buff. As a blind monk, you struggle into meta junglers like Amumu and Rammus and get out-bruised by Vi and Olaf. Lethality Lee is a thing but requires a lot of mechanics and experience to pull off. As a high-risk, low-reward champion at the moment, hopefully Riot bring Lee closer to the power of the other junglers dominating the win rates. The new Tiamat has been unkind to many champions, none more so than Rengar. As the Pride Stalker, your clear is so much slower and your combos are not as deadly as they once were. Tiamat gave you the ability to animation cancel and your damage per second was nuts as a result. With a 44% win rate, Rango is the 4th weakest champion in the game. Rito have recognized this and will help you cats out. Not much better is Karthus with a 45% win rate, and the Death Singer is getting some love. You can still clear camps quickly, but your lack of mana is your core problem. It takes time to acquire the mana from Luden's Tempest or Liandry's Anguish, and until that time you are extremely vulnerable. If the enemy jungler ever jumps on you, it's over. Next on the buff list is Wukong. The Tiamat change has also impacted the Monkey King in the jungle. Your early game as a result is considerably weaker, and though your ganks are still effective, you lack the clear speed to compete with meta junglers. Like Lee Sin, you also get outclassed by similar bruisers, by Kayn, Olaf for example. Gragas has also fallen behind in the jungle, and as a result, Ryder looking to help out the Ginger community. Your early game as the rabble-rouser leaves much to be desired. The new ability haste that replaced cooldown reduction has made it harder for you to play around your abilities until later in the game, and if you decide to go full AP, you die in a second. Most of the time you won't even trade kills because you don't do enough damage unless you're giga fed. The worst champion from our top 10 worst champions video, Talia, is getting buffed. A 45% win rate is one of the most depressing in the game. Your high mana cost, lack of mana items, early game cooldowns, underwhelming ultimate, squishiness. As the Stoneweaver you just lack in every department and get stomped by the strong mid laners and junglers in the game. The removal of Athenes has not just hit Nidalee, but also Ivern. A 45 to 46% win rate has been acknowledged by Riot, and they are helping out the Green Father. The Moonstone Renewer buff in 1024 gave a bit of power back to you Daisy lovers, but your ultimate is a lot weaker in the current meta. Daisy can be killed easily in teamfights because of all the damage in the game, and you become a QWE champion. Let's quickly cover the bot lane champions, and there are only 2 buffs here. One of them is for Twitch. The Plague Rat has the 3rd lowest win rate on the Rift and is the worst of all the AD carries. Unless you position perfectly for 30 minutes, you get killed by everything that's popular at the moment, and lack a lot of damage due to the pre-season critical strike nerfs. AP Twitch is a thing and has seen some players support, but you still have 0 survivability. This next buff is one of the stranger ones on Rito's list, and that's to Lulu. I mean, if you're a Lulu main, no doubt you've already told family and friends you'll be even better in 1025, but Lulu is already performing well across all elos. Her synergy with Moonstone Renewer and Imperial Mandate is strong, and as one of the best peelers in the game, she can eliminate popular assassin threats and hard engaging tanks. Now onto the champion nerfs, and there's 8 of them, so let's whiz through them. 2 ADCs are getting nerfed next patch, and these include Jhin and Samira. Jhin is the strongest ADC in the game right now with a 53% win rate. He deals a ton of damage with the lethality mythics and legendaries and outclasses all the crit ADCs. Samira is the most banned champion in League, and her kit is extremely frustrating to play against. Her dashes, her blade whirl, her knockup, she's already been nerfed numerous times. Maybe this one will finally balance her out. There are 5 mid lane nerfs coming next patch. Kayle and Fizz being on the hit list is making a lot of summoners happy. They have the 2nd and 3rd highest win rates in the game, and have been tearing up play at every elo. Morgana is also getting nerfed. She synergizes extremely well with Liandry's Anguish and Demonic Embrace, and her W wave clear is insane. With Azonia's in there as well, she can be very oppressive not just in 1v1s, but also teamfights. Annie is also getting a downgrade. The Dark Child's abilities with Luden's Tempest are burning through Summoner's Rift. The magic penetration in particular makes you as firesome as Tibbers himself. Your high base damages coupled with the magic penetration passive of Luden's scale you into one of the strongest mids later in a game. Last for the mid nerfs is Galio. In high elo, the Colossus boasts a 57% win rate and is one of the most impactful mid laners at the moment. Easy to play with decent damage and amazing utility, there isn't much drawback, if any. You can get harassed heavily in the early game for sure, but in lower elos, players don't know how to punish you in the first few levels. The best champion in the game is Kayn, and he's last on the nerf list, thank God. This champion has featured in many of our top champion videos in recent weeks, and Ryder finally targeting the Shadow Reaper. Close to a 55% win rate across the board, Kayn's power is unmatched. One-shots everyone with his blue form and lethality, and becomes unkillable with his red form and Gore Drinker. Many of you will appreciate whatever nerf they have in store, that's for sure. Now let's cover the item changes and which champions they will affect. All of you ADCs should be jumping with joy. Listen to this. Immortal Shield Bow, Gale Force, Kraken Slayer, Rapid Fire Cannon, Infinity Edge, your major crit items are getting buffed. Aphelios, Xayah, Caitlyn, Twitch, Jinx, and everyone else, you should be cheering. You should finally be able to play the game in 1025. Hopefully anyway. Let's stay in the bot lane for a second. Supports, listen to this. Imperial Mandate, Moonstone Renewer, Shirelia's Battle Song, Locket of the Iron Solari, Zeke's Convergence are on the rise. Prices are going down, stats are being adjusted, and this should bring every single one of you into play or more into play. Brand, Zyra, Swain, these 3 Liandry's abusers have the highest win rates out of the supports. Now, you should be able to compete with them in 1025. Mages, 2 buffs for you guys. Ability haste on Luden's Tempest and Everfrost is doubling. Now will this make Everfrost lost as good as its two rivals, Tempest and Anguish? It doesn't seem so, but at least Riot are noticing its weak state in the game. The magic penetration with Ludens is decreasing to 6 from 10. This won't change anything, however, its mythic passive gives you all the magic pen you need. If I was to ask you what items should be nerfed, I think there's a very high chance most, if not all of you say, Sunfire Aegis, Frostfire Gauntlet and Turbo Chem Tank, and they are all getting another nerf. The Balmy Cinder Immolate passive has pushed tanks to the forefront of both top lane and the jungle, giving tanks the chance to outdamage the real damage dealers of the game with tank items. Some lethality items are also getting nerfed. The Collector gives you a heck of a lot for 3,000 gold and has been a mainstay on a lot of the OP champions. Graves, Jhin and Misfortune to name a few. Riot also intend to nerf lethality on range champs. The three champions I just mentioned, Graves, Jhin, MF, are abusing Eclipse, Collector and Ghostblade as their three core items and do an incredible amount of damage while having the shield and movement speed from Eclipse to stay healthy. The last two item nerfs will impact mages, Seeker's Armguard and Muramana. Armguard is giving mages way too much for just 900 gold, and Muramana is being favoured over Seras and Braves for some mages. 400 gold cheaper, ability haste, and the damage proccing on abilities is huge. This is real, by the way, it's not a meme. Finally, Riot are adding some changes to the shop. Shop scaling is being introduced, so you now have the option to adjust the size of the shop window, and there will be a pin open feature that allows you to have the consumables, boots and item sets tabs open at all times. Simply click on the pin to activate and deactivate this feature. It's been a pleasure bringing you the changes, gang. As always, please leave a like on the video, subscribe and turn on all notifications, and GameLeap.com. Do not close your browser without clicking on over there, link down below. This has been Coach Cheese, and until next time, peace.